So this is the Amazfit Bip S Lite. And the most interesting thing about it is its display. So I'll start right there. This watch has a 1.28-inch Transflective display, which not a lot of people understand. See, for a standard or transmissive LCD, you've got the LCD layer on the front and a backlight behind it so that you can see all the colors. When the ambient light gets brighter than the backlight, you struggle to see it. A reflective LCD, on the other hand, replaces the backlight with a mirror so that you can see all the colors while preserving battery life. Well, for the downside, you can't read it when there's no light around. So a transflective display has both a backlight and a mirror, which is what makes this readable everywhere. The takeaway from all this is that the brighter the ambient light gets, the brighter the display gets. When there's no light, the backlight takes over. The always-on display is basically the LCD layer on and the backlight off. And because the backlight is what saps a lot of power, which is set to really low brightness on this watch, battery life is truly legendary. Amazfit claims 30 days maximum, and with my heavy usage, which includes 4 alarms every morning, over an hour of cycling with GPS every day, heart rate tracking set to 1 minute, a constant barrage of notifications, sleep assistant and PAI on, I always get 10 to 12 days of battery life. While that might not seem like a lot, remember that other watches with standard LCDs last only 3 days with this kind of workload. It takes around 2.5 hours to fill its battery reserve with its proprietary non-magnetic pogo pin charger. Unfortunately, the case for the display only gets weaker from here. It can display only 64 colors and saturation is really low. The same goes for the resolution, which sits at a fuzzy 176 by 176 pixels. It's also got a huge picture frame bordering it. And while it looks alright outdoors, the display's blacks look more like purple under artificial light. How much of this do you notice? None of it. The UI makes a good selection of colors, so you never feel like you're missing out. The always-on display distracted me from the big bezels and the saturation is mostly fine outdoors. I'll admit it, I did notice all this in the first week, and that is why I'm mentioning it. But this is one of the cases where it looks better in person than on camera. And in my eye, all these compromises are worth it, because a watch is supposed to tell you the time all the time, without you having to make a silly gesture to see it. Back to the positives now. The watch is pretty zippy, and going around the menus, there is never a hint of lag. Everything is neatly laid out with quick toggles at the top, notifications that buzz strongly as they come in and get stacked at the bottom, and your widgets as you swipe left or right. You can press the crown to expand the app list or go back, depending on context. Long press on the home screen to change the watch face, 2 of which are customizable. For 145 more, you'll have to do it through the app. And sadly, Amazfit seems to have removed the option for third-party watch faces at press time. And as for calls, you can either reject or silence the call. No answering. The same goes for messages too. Something else which I found out was that the watch always scrolls in chunks, and it's kind of funny that you can turn on the watch, swipe thrice on the home screen, and land on the third widget after a second. All the fitness features are present with 14 workout modes, although I used only outdoor cycling, which was accurate enough, and so was the heart rate, step tracking, and calorie counting. And speaking of calories, it's really annoying that the widget on the watch shows only the ones burnt by walking. If you want the day's outlook, you'll have to use the app. The app is called Zept and is feature-rich and is easily one of the most robust in this price range. You'll have to give it a few permissions and it'll also tell you where those settings are on your phone. The initial setup is painless and you can use your Google account as I did. Cross-platform support is available, although my testing was limited to Android. But no matter what platform you use and what switch you flick, the date format will always stay American. Sigh. The watch has a plastic casing with a Gorilla Glass 3 front and is bracketed by universal 20mm lugs, so you can swap out straps with ease. You'll find a heart rate monitor on the back and a stainless steel crown on the right. It's funny I keep calling it a crown because unlike down watches, this one is basically a button and doesn't rotate. There's no SpO2 monitor here. GPS has also been omitted for this watch and you'll have to carry your phone if you want the route. So who is this watch for? The most polarizing part is the display, and I strongly recommend you see it in person before you decide to pull the trigger. And if you want a better UI, a regular LCD and a blood oxygen monitor, Amazfit's newer Bip U and Realme's Watch 2 are great buys. But neither of them offer an always-on display, which is what makes this watch so compelling. Toss in the price, which goes as low as 2,500 rupees, and you'll see a no-nonsense, functional watch that does only the things it can do well. Disclosure folks, the Zepp app received an overhaul a couple of days ago. The footage you saw in this video does reflect those changes. Thumbs up or down based on what you felt, and subscribe so that you can watch more of me trying to emulate bigger channels. Until next time, thank you for watching and do drop by again.